What if I told you that one single aircraft helped change the outcome of World War II and terrified an entire air force so badly that bomber crews called it their guardian angel? This wasn't a jet. It wasn't stealth. It didn't carry satellite-guided missiles. Yet the US P-51 Mustang became one of the most feared and respected fighters in history. And today, on Tactical Review, we're diving deep into the legend that rewrote aerial warfare forever. Picture this. It's 1943. American bombers are flying deep into Nazi territory. Flak explodes around them. German fighters swarm like wolves. The sky turns into a metal storm. And then, slicing through the clouds, comes a sleek silver Predator with a chilling engine roar. That was the Mustang. The P-51 wasn't born a hero. It was born under pressure. In 1940, Britain desperately needed fighters to survive. North American Aviation was asked to build the outdated P-40 under license. Instead, they made a bold, almost arrogant claim. Give us 120 days. We'll design something better. It sounded reckless. Wartime doesn't forgive arrogance. But they delivered. The prototype in A-73X flew just 102 days after the contract was signed. Fast, clean, beautifully aerodynamic. But there was a problem. At high altitude, where the real air war was fought, its engine choked, power dropped, performance collapsed. The Mustang risked becoming just another forgotten experiment. Then came the game-changing decision. Engineers paired the airframe with the British Rolls-Royce Merlin engine. That single move transformed the aircraft from promising to legendary. Suddenly, the Mustang could dominate at high altitude. It could escort bombers all the way to Berlin and back. No Allied fighter had done that before. And here's where it gets serious. With its Packard-built Merlin V 1650 engine producing over 1,400 horsepower, the P-51D variant could reach speeds of around 437 miles per hour. It had a combat range exceeding 1,000 miles with drop tanks. That range was revolutionary. It meant German pilots could no longer wait safely near their own airfields. There was no safe zone anymore. Imagine being a Luftwaffe pilot in 1944. You scramble to intercept American bombers. You climb confidently. And suddenly, silver Mustangs are already above you, hunting. The P-51 carried 6.50 caliber Browning machine guns. Not cannons, not rockets, just 6 relentless streams of high-velocity fire. But in the hands of trained pilots, those guns shredded enemy aircraft with terrifying efficiency. The Mustang wasn't just fast. It was precise, stable, deadly. And here's something most people don't realize. The Mustang's laminar flow wing design reduced drag dramatically. That smooth wing shape wasn't just for speed. It gave the aircraft exceptional energy retention in dogfights. While an opponent bled speed in tight turns, the Mustang could climb back up, reposition, and strike again. This wasn't brute force. This was intelligent dominance. By early 1944, the air war over Europe shifted dramatically. American bombers that once suffered devastating losses now had long-range escorts. German pilots began targeting Mustangs first, knowing that if they survived, the bombers would be vulnerable. That alone tells you how feared this aircraft became. But let me ask you something. If the P-51 was so dominant, why didn't it exist earlier? Why did it take years of brutal losses before the Allies found their solution? We'll answer that. And later, we'll compare it to its biggest rival, the Messerschmitt Bf-109, to see who truly owned the skies. Stay with me, because the story of the Mustang isn't just about speed and guns. It's about psychological warfare. When German commanders realized that American fighters could escort bombers deep into the Reich, morale dropped. Factories, oil refineries, rail networks. Nothing was safe anymore. The Mustang didn't just win dogfights. It broke a defensive strategy. And its impact didn't end in Europe. When the war shifted to the Pacific, P-51s escorted B-29 bombers over Japan. They flew long missions across vast oceans, proving again that range equals power. Even during the Korean War, Mustangs flew ground attack missions, strafing enemy positions with deadly precision. Did you know some P-51s are still flying today? Restored warbirds dominate air shows. Private collectors pay millions to own one. Why? Because this machine isn't just metal, it's legacy. Now here's the twist. In modern discussions about air dominance, whether we talk about NATO strategy, tensions in the South China Sea, or lessons from the Ukraine conflict, the importance of air superiority remains unchanged. Technology evolves. Missiles replace machine guns. But the principle the Mustang proved remains the same. Control the skies, control the outcome. And the P-51 proved that with ruthless clarity. But how exactly did it compare to Spitfire or the Bf-109? And what hidden weaknesses did it have that most documentaries never mention? When people compare the P-51 Mustang to the Supermarine Spitfire, emotions run high. The Spitfire was elegant, agile, iconic. It saved Britain in 1940, but it lacked one critical advantage: range. The Spitfire could defend. The Mustang could invade. That difference changed the war. The Bf-109, Germany's backbone fighter, was fast and heavily armed. In a tight-turning fight at certain altitudes, it could be lethal, but it struggled with endurance. Limited fuel capacity meant German pilots often had minutes before needing to return. The Mustang turned that weakness into a weapon. It escorted bombers in, fought enemy interceptors, and stayed long enough to strafe airfields on the way out. That extended presence suffocated the Luftwaffe. German training programs couldn't keep up with pilot losses. Experienced aces were gradually eliminated. And here's a chilling fact. By 1945, the Luftwaffe was so depleted that some new pilots had barely 100 flight hours. Meanwhile, American Mustang pilots gained combat experience daily. Air superiority became inevitable. But the Mustang wasn't invincible. Its liquid-cooled engine was vulnerable. A single well-placed bullet in the cooling system could be catastrophic. In ground attack roles during Korea, Mustangs suffered losses to small arms fire. They were fast, but not armored tanks of the sky. Still, pilots loved it. They praised its visibility, its balance, its responsiveness. Many said it felt like an extension of their body. That psychological confidence matters in combat. A pilot who trusts his machine fights harder. Now think about this in modern terms. Today we debate fifth-generation stealth fighters like the F-35 and J-20. We analyze radar cross-sections and electronic warfare. But the Mustang's revolution wasn't stealth. It was strategic reach. It proved that projecting power deep into enemy territory changes everything. In gaming terms, imagine having unlimited map control while your opponent is stuck defending spawn. That's what the Mustang did to Germany's air defense network. And here's a detail many overlook. The P-51 DS bubble canopy dramatically improved pilot visibility. That seemingly small design shift gave Mustang pilots an edge in spotting threats. In a dogfight, seconds matter. Seeing your enemy first often means surviving. Over 15,000 Mustangs were built. They served with multiple Allied air forces. Even after World War II, some countries operated them for decades. That kind of longevity speaks volumes. So why does the P-51 Mustang still dominate conversations about World War II fighters? Because it represents a turning point. It symbolizes innovation under pressure. It shows what happens when engineering meets urgency. And it reminds us that dominance isn't just about raw firepower. It's about solving the right problem at the right time. Here's something to think about. If the Mustang had arrived 2 years earlier, would the war in Europe have ended sooner? Historians still debate that. But one thing is clear. Once it entered the fight in force, the balance shifted. And that's the mark of a true game changer. If you want more deep dives into the world's most powerful military machines, from historic legends to modern battlefield giants, make sure you hit that subscribe button now. Join Tactical Review and become part of a community that understands a machine shaping global power. Drop a comment below. Was the P-51 truly the greatest piston engine fighter ever built? Or does another aircraft deserve that crown? The sky once trembled at the sound of its engine, and decades later, its legend still flies. This wasn't just an aircraft. It was air superiority, forged in aluminum and fire,